I will call the Monroe, September 6, 2022 Monroe Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order. Jim Wendt, I'm the chairman. Also on the meeting is members Ron Stelmach, Sarah Harris, and Ben Maini. And I will ask Mr. Schultz to read the call of the public hearing, please.
Zoning Board of Appeals, regular meeting, Monroe, Connecticut, notice of public hearing to be held September 6, 2022. In accordance with Connecticut General Statutes 8-7D, a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, September 6, 2022 at 7 p.m. Via fully remote Zoom meeting concerning the following: ZBA 2022-04, file 1412, 86 High Rock Road, Newtown, with the subject application in the town of Monroe. Application for variance of 3.1.3A as an apple via 3.3.3 to permit an accessory use building or structure on a lot where the principal building use is accessory in Newtown. Scott Ostrowski, owner, applicant, attorney Dominic Thomas, representative. And Mr. Chairman, for the exhibits, we have the return notices to the abutters and the letter to the town clerk of the town of Newtown. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. And with that, we'll open up the public hearing. Mr. Thomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Attorney Dominic Thomas, Cohen and Thomas, 315 Main Street, Durban, Connecticut, representing the applicant here. Rick, can I screen share?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see. Try it again. There we go. Oh, are you screen sharing?
I shouldn't be.
It's Town of Monroe is up on the screen now.
Yeah.
Okay, is it? I'll try. Oh, it says host disabled, participant screen sharing.
Yeah, I got to get you. Oh.
No, it's back to you again. Well, anyway, to begin with, while Rick is doing it, I was going to go through the application exhibits, and I have just a couple of others to present to you. In the many years that I've been doing this,
Okay.
I just
You want to try it now, Dominic?
yeah, I can. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Not yet. It says he's still there.
There we go. Okay, Dominic.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna. This is later on down in the. And we start with the beginning of the application. So this is a property that my client purchased in early 2000s, as you'll see from the deed, and the property was in Monroe. He was given all his permits. Began constructing his house, 23-acre parcel. And sometime in the late 2000s, and I say sometime because honestly, we haven't been able to locate the Board of Selectmen meetings or anything in both towns, but at some point, the towns decided to change the boundary line of the town. And as a result of which, the house that was built and permitted in Monroe became in Newtown, and his address changed. So what I'd like to do to start with, to, show you, I mean, this is, if you're looking, if you have the application, you'll see the explanation that I gave you, but the exhibits to support it, here is the administrator's deed, giving it to Scott Ostrowski and his ex-wife. She has since deeded her interest to him when they were divorced. And he and his two daughters live in the property. And as you can see, it says the property that was purchased was in the town of Monroe. And here's the description containing the 23 acres, all being in Monroe at the time that he purchased it. His permits and everything were from Monroe. I included in here a report from Land Tech. When we were there, this case has been involved with a lot of litigation involving zoning enforcement concerning commercial uses on the property and everything on both Newtown and Monroe. When the cases were appealed to the appellate court, I was asked to come in and try to resolve it as a land use attorney, and I've been successful. The Newtown side has resolved it and now working on resolving the side, and there are no more violations. The equipment has been taken off. There are also questions about the wetlands and everything, and so we hired Land Tech, and they came in. And the reason I was presenting this is because in the Land Tech report, the man-made pond is referred to. It's a spring-fed pond. The water table in some of these areas was high, and it's a spring-fed pond. And one of the important things was that, as he said, the creation of the pond in an upland environmental area has resulted in increased habitat, and it's been very beneficial for the area. In addition to that, he does farm a portion of the property. And there are some photos that were here that were part of the report of the wetlands officer. But getting to key elements, this is the survey map, which was in 2 sheets. This is the upper sheet, the survey map that was done in 2002, showing the property in Monroe. And I've highlighted, you can see the Newtown Monroe town line, and the town line went like this and went like this. And then the property line went here. But as you can see, the town line for Monroe and Newtown went and followed, I think this is called Half Mile Brook. So when the property was purchased, this small, tiny portion of it was in Newtown, the rest was in Monroe. And so this was done in 2002. And you can see it outlined, there was grading being done, and there was an area that was, as you'll see from one of the other exhibits, that had a high water table, and that's where the spring-fed pond came. But the property was in Monroe at that time. And what I've done here is also, I had put in the packet, the primary residence and barn. I show you where it is. This is on the Monroe GIS here. And now the town line is here instead of up there where it was. And you could see here where barely you could see, this is where Half Mile Brook comes through and then goes over here. And this is the border between Newtown and Monroe. For some reason, and I don't know when they changed it. And of course, here is the pond. And the structure that we're talking about is the client's in the site work construction business, and he was doing a demolition of a piece of property. And this was actually a screened-in porch that he took and planted here and put on, as you can see, put on pilings alongside the pond. And in addition to that, he built a pavilion that they use obviously during the summer, during the winter months, and other times he stores the hay that he has for the cows that he has. And there's a farther away picture showing the entire structure that we're talking about. Again, had they not changed the town line, the structure would be a clearly permitted structure by permit. You'd have to get a permit for it, but it would be permitted. That's one of the issues. And the first step to getting the permit and following through with the settlement is obviously going to the ZBA because they changed the town line. Here is 2 other pictures of it, and here's a panoramic, so you can see the pond and you can see the building that's involved with it. To also highlight it for you, this is the 2002 air photo in the Newtown GIS, which they have overlaid their boundaries. And this picture is good, number one, because it's 2002. You can see that his barn being built. You can see the house over here. If you can see my icon, and that they were built, they were permitted. We represent you. They were permitted all in Monroe. The boundary line was here. This is Half Mile Brook, and as you can see, the boundary line continued over here. And then when the 2 towns got together, they decided, I don't know, for whatever reason, that the boundary should be over here, down here, instead of up here. This is the boundary. Now, whether or not it was to make it even with the property across the way, because I think at that point, the boundary went to the railroad, which the client bordered on, went down this way and over this way and around. And that's what it was. So, as you can see, back in 2002, the area where eventually the spring-fed pond was developed had a high water table and was, there were a lot of areas. This was an old farm that was a property that was heavily farmed and had a lot of farming roads and farming ponds in it. So what we're asking, simply what we're asking for, the hardship, the unique hardship, here is the movement of the town line, which the client had nothing to do with. Once they moved the town line, it took the 20 some odd acres. I think 17 or so acres or 18 acres that remain in Monroe. And the only thing you could do is build another house, which he had no desire to do on the property because in Monroe. And but therefore it created the hardship of having the, as I said, in the having this building not be a permitted building because the main house is now in the town of Newtown. So that being the hardship, I think I think that it shows that it certainly wasn't a self-created hardship. It was certainly unique, and it would basically, be confiscatory in a fashion for him not to be able to use the property that he purchased, all being in Monroe at the time, and then the change was not any result of anything he did. So I'll leave my screen share up if you have any questions, and I'm ready to answer any questions about it.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I just have I have 2 questions, actually. The sole matter before us then is the fact that this existing accessory structure is not on the same lot to the primary use to which it's accessory. Is that correct?
Correct. Right.
And is this still a single parcel, just bifurcated by the municipal border, or is it 2 separate parcels in your opinion?
Well, it's a single parcel. Okay. It's still a single parcel owned by it's bifurcated by the town line, which was moved. You know what I mean? But now there is a portion of the property in Newtown and a portion of the property in Monroe. But it's still a single parcel. He has it financed as a single parcel, with the mortgage company and everything.
Very well. I have no further questions. Any other member of the board have a question? You can just speak up or raise your hand. I can't. Let me just see. I can only see. Anybody?
I guess the one question I have, is there any plans to change the use of this piece of property?
Not by my client. No, he maintains it. He actually farms. He actually, let me fit this to one page. Let me just shift down here. The area, you saw some pictures. This area here is a large grazing area, meadow, for his cattle that he has. He has no intention of doing anything else with it or anything like that. I mean, you know, I suppose he could go to Monroe and build a house, have to put a road in or anything like that. He has no desire to do that whatsoever. He and his daughters enjoy the 20 some odd acres. And a lot of what you see, a lot of on the second sheet here is basically unusable. It's wetlands, you know, when you go farther into Monroe.
So that existing structure is going to remain.
That existing structure is going to remain along the, you know, next to the pond. Again, it's used for that. The next step that I would have to take, once this step is done, then the next step I have to take is to submit an application to wetlands for the post-activity application in the upland review area. And that's why we had gotten the report, and of course the pandemic slowed things down. That's why we got the report showing the benefit of the pond to the wetlands and upland review areas, you know, as habitat. And he also uses it they use it for swimming. And as you can see from the pictures, you know, that it's available to do that. It's certainly not the beach down at Pensacola, but it's a nice little personal beach.
Mr. Thomas, this is Ron Stelmack.
Yeah.
If the line had not been moved and everything stayed in Monroe, the planned use that you have would be fully within planning and zoning regulations for Monroe?
Yes, it would be an accessory building on the site of the main building, similar to the accessory building that's the barn that's up here. You know, that when he got the permit, he permitted the house. There's the accessory building that's the barn. And that would have also been an accessory building. Just like a pool cabana, you know,
Yep.
Instead of a pond, think of that as a pool and you have to still get a permit for the little cabana, a little dressing room type thing. Or even a deck.
It would be in zoning regulations.
Right, yes.
All right, thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Sarah, you all set?
Yes, I'm all set.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go back. We're all set with the screen sharing?
Yeah, we can stop the screen. Very good. Thank you, Rick. Anything else, Mr. Thomas, before we close?
No, nothing else. Thank you very much.
I'm looking at the participants list and I don't see any members of the general public. Rick, I presume anybody that may have phoned in would show up on this list as well.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So I will ask, even though I don't see anybody here, is there anybody from the public that wishes to be heard on this matter? Not surprisingly, I don't hear anybody. Therefore, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank
you. We will go into deliberative session on this matter. Does anybody, before we have a discussion, wish to make a motion one way or the other on this application for discussion purposes?
I mean, I motion to approve the application under the, you know, it was previously conforming, so I don't think it was anything that they did contrary to that.
All right, why don't we leave that there for a moment? Motion to approve by Mr. Mayini. Is there a second to that motion? Sarah or Ron?
Had to unmute, sorry, second.
All right, the motion is seconded. So then you have anything else beside the comment you already made?
Nope.
Okay. I agree. I think the movement of municipal boundary line is a rather unique circumstance that we don't see very often, and not of this applicant's doing. So I'm also prepared to support this application. Anybody else have a comment before I call for a vote? No? All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, I see 3 other hands. That is a 4-0 unanimous approval. Is there any other business we need to discuss this evening, Mr. Schultz?
No, Mr. Chairman, no minutes.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
you're welcome. Sorry it took,
Welcome. Good
took
luck.
us to
No
this
problem.
time to get here, but
No problem.
you're welcome. Thank you,
Thank
fellow
you.
commissioners. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will adjourn the meeting at 7:31.
You got it. Take care. Have a great
Good night,
day.
everyone.
Have a great night.
Good
Bye.
night, all.